Next up, JB, co-founder of Cart.com, will be leading a fireside chat with the co-founder and CEO of Half Days, Ariana Ferwerda. JB, let's teach our audience how to build a mountain of hype.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So we get a lot of questions. People go, what is Cart.com? Are you a payments processor or whatever? And there's confusion about it. So one of the objectives for my team here is to make sure I'm super clear about what that is. So Cart.com is a solutions and services provider to help you attract more customers, convert them into buyers, and grow and simplify your operations. Now, Ariana has been a client of ours for a while. I founded a 3PL, so I'm a credible witness as part of this founder made community. I'm a recovering CEO now as part of the Cart.com team, but have developed a relationship with Ariana, and there are a few things that I love about watching her work. Number one, her brand's just amazing. Her personal social media feed is a blast to watch, especially during the summer in Texas. It's fun seeing how much nicer and cooler it is where she lives. But the team that she's building and the hype that she's built around her brand is just amazing. And it seems so effortless. And so over the last couple of months, we've been working together for about a year as a client. And over the last couple of months, I've been learning a little bit more about how they built this hype. And so today we're going to talk about that. So Ariana, do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Half Days?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Also, that was so kind, too kind. You're good to me. But hi, everyone. I'm Ariana Ferwerda, the co-founder and CEO of Half Days. I don't know if everyone knows what Half Days is. We're still pretty small, but it is a women's ski wear brand, and kind of the genesis, and I'll just give you the high level on that. I moved to Colorado from Michigan like 4 years ago. I live in Denver, and I was super excited to get into skiing and more outdoor activities, but I also love fashion, and there really weren't any brands that spoke to this kind of like modern female customer that wanted something that was both technical, fashion forward at a more approachable price point. So that's really our reason for being and wanting to bring more women and more people to the mountains. I have two co-founders. One of them has a background in fashion and D2C, and the other is an Olympic skier. So kind of fitting. And the three of us really just wanted to kind of like shake up the outdoor industry a bit, especially when it comes to technical gear for women. So that's Half Days in a nutshell.
Yeah, so our relationship between Cart and Half Days is on the logistics side. So when we started the partnership, it was she called me up and she said, "Hey, I have a friend. We share an investor who worked with you guys in the past on shipping and D2C, and we've realized that we've outgrown our ability to do this ourselves." And so she outsourced those services to us. But one of my favorite parts of being part of a logistics arm of the company is that it's almost kind of like operational therapy, right? Like we talk a lot about just like the challenges and things. And so, talk to me about the kind of early stages of the business and where the decision was made to, start to farm out some of these services.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'll preface it with, I had one conversation with JB and I was like, yeah, we're going to do the fulfillment with JB. He was definitely a great salesman, but also just from the perspective of his story and having a brand and needing a better fulfillment situation. So that was super fun. But yeah, we started the brand. We launched in November of 2020, so peak of COVID and super interesting time. But also so many people were getting out in the mountains during those 2 winter seasons. So it was definitely advantageous from that regard. With that being said, we started doing fulfillment. Me and one of my co-founders in Denver were just fulfilling out of this little warehouse, and we got to a point where we're getting so many orders per day that we were not doing anything else, not talking to anyone on the team, and we're just packing boxes. We're this doesn't seem productive. So at that point, we did that for the first season, and then the second season, we started to look at fulfillment centers, but we were so scared to do it because we were we want to have full control over our products, and it was just the most kind of daunting thing. And yeah, so that's at that point we were let's start exploring other options for this.
So this problem was created in kind of a unique way because most of the founders that I talk to, when they're going and raising money, they're building out these models, and it's all based off of this kind of idea about CAC. And something you told me the other day, last month rather, was that out of the gates, your almost entire kind of marketing strategy was purely PR, right? Earned media, so where did the sort of basis for that come from, and why did you find that early success?
Yeah, and I don't even have probably the best answer as to why we decided to do that. I think that there were so many conversations that I had early on before starting Half Days with other founders that are don't rely entirely on paid digital to build your business longer term, especially if you want to build something super sustainable. So I think that was the first and foremost thing, and we're how can we just get this in front of a ton of people and really kind of build this loyalty and love for what we're doing and for the brand without relying so much on paid. So that's really what we did, and we partnered with like a publicist based in New York, and she's not like a traditional PR agency, but someone who nobody really thinks of as a PR person, but more so like their friend. And that was awesome because we were able to get in a lot of publications like during our launch week and back in 2020. So that was awesome. And yeah, that I think has also like really allowed us to build something that people are just like excited about because they see it somewhere and it's not like just ads being pushed at them. So I think that was, kind of how we were able to do it in the first season, and it worked out.
Well, in your entire founding team is super active on Instagram and social in general. And so how do you think about, there's a lot of talk these days about how, the CEO of companies are kind of the company, right, or the brand in a lot of ways. So was that ever really something you had to navigate or struggle with, like being kind of the face and having your photos all over the brand? Like, are you comfortable with that? Was it a concerted decision that you made?
So I mean, personally, I've never been like someone that's, super like outwardly facing on social media. So I think it was almost like, do we need to start like trying to be like influencers or something like that to like grow a company? And I think the short answer is no, but yeah, I don't know. I think we've been able to balance it. My co-founder Kylie, on the other hand, has already had like a bit of a following just because she was an Olympian, which is definitely advantageous, but it's been a struggle to figure out like how best to use her because we are like promoting ourselves as this brand for casual skiers and people and really just community focused and not like too professional or technical. So it's like we have this Olympian on the team, but we're really trying to figure out how to best leverage that.
Well, was there, in terms of kind of the chicken before the egg problem, like was Kylie already pretty well followed before you guys launched, or was it something that sort of developed more so after Half Days got going?
She had a following just from like, competing at the 2018 Olympics. So yeah, but it's definitely grown since then too.
Do you feel like it ever turns off? Do you feel, because if you follow them, you see them skiing a lot, obviously. And so are you skiing because you want to go ski, or are you skiing because you need photos for Instagram this weekend? Like, what's the driving force there?
Yeah, I mean, I probably skied way less than I would like to, like this past season, just because it's like, getting out there is like, it's not necessarily work. But the nice thing is like, okay, we need content. Let's go to Aspen for the weekend. Like, definitely some perks from that side of things.
So, now you're a couple of years in, year and a half, right? 2 years into the business. What about the strategy has had to shift? Have you had to lean more into paid? Have you still seen the success with earned media?
Yeah, it's a super good question, and like we definitely so the majority of our sales are organic, first of all, and we 100% have leaned into paid like a ton this past season, and I think it's similarly to when we launched was like, how can we balance this in a way that we're not totally relying on it long term, and really like leaning on community building and events and different things like that. So we're really trying to like kind of have this super well-rounded like marketing strategy that again allows us to not have to like rely heavily on digital, but at the same time like we saw great success with it last season. Yeah,
one of my favorite things that you guys do is the Slack group, right? So there's this public Slack group that they have for skiers, and I'm not in. I don't know how to ski, but just seeing the screenshots and the community and stuff is really fun. So who leads that? Are you active in that Slack channel? Do you have someone who's just responsible for that? Yeah, so my co-founder, Corel, who's our CMO, was really like the person to kind of get that going and launching that. And then we have like someone on the team who's kind of like a community freelancer, and she's in there like very frequently talking to everyone. And it's been really cool to see just people like joining the Slack channel because they moved to a new city and they are trying to find like friends to go skiing with or like hiking with or just really anything. And we even see like women in different cities like meeting up for drinks like through the Slack channel and different stuff like that. So that's been a really cool thing because they're like, oh, I met my friends through the Half Day Slack channel or something of the sort. So I think that there's like, even though that's not like someone going and getting drinks together from like a ski brand Slack channel isn't necessarily like that related to like our brand into Half Days specifically, but at the same time like they have that in their mind and it like kind of reverts back to the brand. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason all of this is so impressive to me is because, again, like we handled the physical manifestation of the brand, and so the stuff, you guys are pretty seasonal being in the skiing business, but just seeing these orders and these pre-orders roll in is just impressive, And so, how have you thought about managing a business? Doing mostly kind of earned media and organic, but then also just planning for such a seasonal business, right? Like most people aren't skiing in July, so how have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is like we're trying to get away from seasonality longer term. Like it's definitely not fun if anyone has had a tremendously seasonal business. But it's a great question, and I think it's just like trying to stay relevant all times of the year. And so we're hosting like hikes and workout events and different things like that around the country, like in the summer, and just trying to like give people half-days hats and things like that are a little bit more grassroots. And that's been a nice way that we've been able to like stay relevant throughout the season. But again, seasonality, it's a tough one.
Yeah, well, do you feel like now you guys are at a certain size, you're going to have to start changing the way that you're marketing and putting more money into paid? What do you kind of anticipate here, coming up?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on right now with paid, so it's like we're, I think, balancing of like, everyone is scared to put more money into that because it just seems kind of like an empty pit almost in some ways. But I think yes, we definitely will continue to lean into paid and just almost like thinking about other like marketplaces and different things that we can get the brand in front of people without it just being like Google, IG, Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Well, and y'all raised money, right, to kind of launch the brand. Did you face any challenges with this sort of earned media and organic kind of approach and strategy, or was that something people were poking on when you were presenting?
In terms of like that being the strategy when we were fundraising?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it was almost like an advantage in a way because I think so many are like, oh, we need this amount of money to like put into paid digital, and on the flip side, we were more like, we really want to build this like long-lasting, like sustainable brand,
Mm-hmm.
Which we've been able to start to do at an early stage, which is exciting. So I think, it's more of like having to explain that and like why we're doing it, and that was easy to overcome in that way.
So on the way over here on the train, I was reading an article about the transition from Bob Iger to Bob Chapek, or the new CEO of Disney, and one of the comments in there was about how one of the skill sets of the modern CEO is much heavier reliance on the EQ part of kind of skill sets and not as much of the IQ, right, as it was formerly. And so, how are you thinking about building this business, and where do you go for that kind of EQ support, that sort of it's lonely at the top sort of problems as you're trying to build this thing and figuring it out for the first time?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like we've talked about this a lot before, but just like I think one thing that I've really loved about starting a company, and I don't think that this is like a natural thing you just assume to do, but someone told me a long time ago that like networking is just probably the most powerful but underrated thing, and I just like use LinkedIn very aggressively.
That was that story that you told me a couple months ago was so fascinating to hear. I mean, because it wasn't one of your investors like through LinkedIn or board member or something like that.
Yeah, we've just had like a lot of random things like come out of just like messaging people on LinkedIn, but and not even in the sense of like posting and being like a LinkedIn like influencer or anything like that, but just like reaching out to people and saying like, I love your background, I love what you've built. Like, I would love to just take 15 minutes of your time to just like tell you about what I'm doing and learn more about your experiences. And like 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, that sounds great. And I've just like gotten some really awesome mentors through that. And to your question specifically around like EQ and trying to balance the fact of being like a founder, fast-growing company, and you're right, it definitely is like lonely at the top when you don't have anyone else that can like really resonate with what those things you're going through. And I mean, I don't know about you guys as founders, but I think also you kind of are with like a group of people as your friends, and like nobody else is doing anything like that, and it's just hard to relate. So that's been really cool. It's just like having people to talk to that have been through those types of scenarios before. And again, like I have found a lot of those people through LinkedIn connections and just like asking people to chat and become friends and mentor.
Yeah, we met up for drinks last night, and it just kind of turned into this like discussion about how the business is changing. We're hiring these people, and just kind of rapping about all those things. And I think a lot of people have a tendency, they sort of maybe a first-time founder and assume that they should have all the answers, right? Like your employees are coming to you assuming that you've got it all figured out, and the humility to admit, like, I don't, and I could use some support. One of the previous speakers was talking about, giving away everything that they hated and not wanting to mess with the finance or whatever. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of people. So how have you, assessed personally what to give away, what to trust others, and where you kind of need the support as leader.
Yeah, for sure. And I think from my perspective, like a lot of that has come just like with time. I started Half Days when I was 23, and I had like 1 year of professional experience under my belt. So like I didn't have a lot of knowledge in terms of like how to manage and like how to allow your team members to like manage up and how to like tell them that that's okay and different things like that. So that's just been a learning experience. But to the side of like, how do you know what you want to be working on and what you don't want to be working on? I think initially it's just like I have to be doing everything and have my hands in all of the things always. But there's so many people that are so great at what they do, and I think that that's just been something that I'm like, okay, let's bring in all of the right people to manage the different facets of the business, and like what are the things that I know that I'm really, really good at, and pick those few things and just like focus on them entirely. And that's definitely taken a little while to understand, and I'm still like very much so working through that right now. But
yeah. Well, I mean, looping back to LinkedIn, the one thing I forgot to mention is, my company was acquired literally through a LinkedIn message from Omer. So our CEO slid into my DMs about a year ago and was like, "Hey, we're looking to buy a 3PL. Are you interested?" And so we talked. And this will come off a little bit like a pitch for Cart, and it kind of is. But we've acquired a few companies, and one of the things that's so special about the business, and part of what's cool about our relationship, is that we have a handful of ex-CEOs in our business. So I've got one right here, deep paid and demand gen expertise Don Purdue brings to the table, and for me, as a recovering CEO, I enjoy these types of conversations because I'm kind of sitting there going like, oh, I remember what that was like to get to kind of problem solve and stuff. And so, what are the challenges you're excited to go solve for, right? Like, I get the question all the time, like, what are you going to go do next? And I'm like, well, I've got some time. I'm enjoying this and letting somebody else solve the kind of big problems. But what are you waking up every day from a growth and demand perspective excited to go solve for at Half Days?
Yeah, I think there's so many things. I think this past season was crazy, and also we again started the company during the middle of the pandemic, so there's a lot of like supply chain challenges and things like that. I think I'm just so excited for next winter. I know it's like when you're a seasonal business, you're like just waiting for the season to come. But so that's, I think. First of all, we like have a wait list of 10,000 people that couldn't get ski wear this past winter.
Yep.
And I'm just excited for the new shipment of people of all of our ski
wear.
to come in.
Our ops team keeps calling me and they're like, dude, you don't know what these forecasts look like. And I was like, they were big last year. And they're like, they're bigger this year. So it's, yeah. And are y'all, are your suppliers struggling to keep up? Is it you're just shooting too low on your forecast and thinking like, no way they'll buy this much, and then they buy it twice as much? Like what is it that's creating so many of those challenges that 10,000 people or 9,000 people couldn't get
I think
something?
It was just a demand planning thing. We didn't expect to grow so quickly, and like this many people just sitting there like wanting this specific product.
You're saying your forecast wasn't perfectly accurate? That's,
yeah, I
know. Another founder, the guy that founded Uncommon Goods up in Brooklyn, Thomas Epting, always said that all models are wrong and the good ones aren't dangerous. So when y'all are doing your look back, right, you only have a couple of years worth of data. How as a team are you guys trying to close the gap, like that delta between what you projected and where you're landing?
Yeah.
Is there
It's
any
super
science
hard.
to it?
Yeah, it's super hard. I mean, and it's funny because our production and product development manager is here, and she's probably like shaking her head. But I think we took like a multi-prong approach for that, and we had like essentially like 2 seasons of sales data that we could look at, and just the waitlist numbers, and then like where we're trying to go, and then pulling in like consultants who were very like specific experts at those things, and just like looking at it from all angles and just trying to like land on an okay number. But
the product is in such high demand. I mean, this is a women's clothing line, and this guy, Daniel Oviedo, who works in one of our warehouses, he's like a very cowboy guy, right? And he was freaking out. There's I think a jacket, right? And he was like, "Man, I would totally wear that jacket."
It's like a puffy jacket.
Yeah, it's hysterical. But he thought it was so cool. We got together in Austin, and
it was like
just,
90 degrees out in Austin. He's like, "I'd wear that."
Yeah,
I was like, "I'll get you one."
So have you had any moments out in the public where you're seeing the product on somebody, or there's somebody, a celebrity or somebody in particular that you're seeing wear it that just feels like you've kind of hit that threshold, like there's a little bit of a made it moment for you?
Well, we got the product on one of my favorite Peloton instructor, which
Who?
was like Allie Love.
Oh man! Oh my God, love her classes.
Yeah. Which I was like, that was just like.
I'm kind of an
a
Alex
moment for
Toussaint
me.
guy myself, but
Okay, well, yeah.
but I do.
I like Alex
Ali
too.
Love's got a whole vibe. Like
Yeah.
So
She's
any
vibey.
other Peloton riders here? Yeah. So
Probably.
yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I know. I remember. So I've got a brand called Texas Humor. It's sort of just like a meme Twitter account. It's got a bunch of followers, and it was really the impetus for building our 3PL. And I remember at some point Casey Musgraves DM'd me and on the Twitter Texas Humor. She didn't follow me, but she wanted one of our shirts, and that was just such a cool feeling,
Yeah.
to feel like there was somebody that like made it, right? So who in your life, not Casey Musgraves, maybe, not Ali Love, although that is amazing. Who are the sort of motivating people in your life that it's like, hey, Mom, I made it? Like, who are those people that kind of make you, that you go and you take that thing back and say, look what we did? Who is that?
For sure. I mean, my family definitely, but like kind of like sidebar to that, like I think, and this probably sounds so cheesy, so I'm sorry, but I think like the coolest thing has been just like seeing people like what we're doing and like being skiing and like seeing 10 people on the mountain wearing half days. And I'm like, that is like what I get so stoked about. And just like telling friends about that, being like, look at all these like things that we saw all these people wearing half days and like taking weird like creepy photos of everybody from afar. But that's probably like just the best feeling, and like seeing people like out in the mountain and just bragging to everybody about
I think
it.
if you're taking photos, they're probably flattered. If I'm taking photos, like, who's this creepy like creepster posting me on Instagram? Yeah, I love the for me as just partner with the brand. When we go to these events, right? Like there's a big golf tournament in Austin called the Dell Match Play, and Haller Brothers is one of our clients, and then William Murray Golf is another one. And we walk around and just see these hats, and it's so cool to feel part of it, right? Like I'm obviously not in your product meetings or anything like that, and I'm not on the slopes very often, so I don't see it. But that's got to be such a cool feeling. Does your team share in that excitement? Like, is all of your team, are they all avid, skiers or snowboarders, or is it just the three of you guys that are a little obsessed at the top?
I would say like everyone on the team for the most part skis, but I wouldn't say that anyone's like an avid skier. But
Got
I
it.
kind of love that because it's like who our customer is, and our customer is like someone that's traveling to go to the mountains like twice, maybe 3 times a year, and that's definitely who our customers are. We have a couple people on the team that have never skied before, and we like got them ski lessons last season, which was so fun, and like went to the mountain with everyone on the team, which was awesome. But I think with being able to like share that excitement and see people out in the mountain, it really is the coolest thing, and something that we've talked so much about internally is just like how that impact and like the internal excitement and external excitement for half days and for the brand and just being a part of the community has really allowed us to kind of grow the organic side of the business. And I think like word of mouth and seeing it on the mountain has really been something that's been so powerful. And we've just had like a crazy amount of people tag us on Instagram in like wearing half days, which is so cool. Like I feel like I don't wear clothes and just like tag the brand that I'm wearing like on
I'm not that
Instagram
guy.
most of the time. And I think people, it also speaks to like really building something as like this community and like being a part of something, rather than saying like, oh, I like this jacket that I'm wearing, so I'm gonna like tell my friends where I got it. It's more so like I'm a part of this like half day or like half days community. So I think that's been just like a really exciting thing to see internally as a team, as well as just like our customers feeling that.
Yeah, I've got the question a lot because I really wasn't a logistics guy. I mean, you've known the story. I spent 10 years as a commercial photographer and kind of fell into the logistics, but the thing that was really motivating for me in building that business was the enablement of founders to go do, we would do this exercise internally where we'd have 2 axes, right? Like, what are you really great at and what do you love doing? And, every 6 months or so, we'd ask the managers and leaders, to plot the things that they do and handle on that chart. And everything that kind of fell to the bottom right, it was delegate it and elevate somebody, right? Give it away. And everything in the top left, like, go lean into that, right? Because in a lot of ways, I think a lot of companies make the mistake of focusing too much on wanting to own everything and don't realize the opportunity cost of like trying to do everything, especially if it's not your expertise. And so y'all are particularly fascinating because the marketing is so effortless. It's so fun to watch. And again, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, pull out your phone, go follow Half Days on Instagram. It's not like this manufactured thing. You know, it really does feel, you know, super genuine. So we're going to kind of pivot over. I appreciate all the answers, and we'll take a couple questions here in a second, but we'll do a couple of rapid fire things. So just a yes or no, or first thing that comes to mind. Let me get my my cheat sheet out so I don't.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, it's, these are some hard-hitting questions.
We didn't
So
go over these ones.
I think I know the answer to this one, but Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Finance or marketing?
Oh, that's hard.
It's not for me.
I mean, marketing.
Yeah, I would
so.
100% say marketing. Yeah, no one would ever accuse me of being a great finance guy. Gmail or Outlook?
Superhuman.
Ooh, oh yeah, I saw that in your. I saw that. I almost told you that I used to use it, and it was above my pay grade. So, breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Dinner. Okay. What's your number one headache? Of all, just business, personal.
Number one headache. That's a tough one. Not having any free time.
Okay. Sabbatical or long weekend? Long weekends.
Long weekends.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, yeah. So, does anyone know what a half day is? I guess, like in terms of like where the name of the brand comes from. Do you know? So do you want to kind of give the explanation? Is
Yeah,
there,
I mean, is
one or
it
two
like
people?
who skis in here? Okay, so a good amount of people.
Yeah.
Like half day ski pass. We really wanted the brand to feel like alluding to just like lightheartedness and not taking yourself too seriously and like leaving work early to go skiing.
Well, and actually, this is I can't believe I forgot this. One of my favorite parts of their website is their excuse generator, and it's this like little like auto-generated thing that gives it's there's one on there that says something about like my yoga. I'm going to my yoga teacher's kid's birthday or something like that, and just all these like completely made up.
Just like how to like get out of working, and we just like have these little auto-populated things you can send your boss.
Yeah, I love that part of the site. What's your fundraiser bootstrap?
Fundraise.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely not bootstrapping the next business that I launch. Turns out it wasn't apparent to me at the beginning that building a capital-intensive logistics company was a bad idea if I was going to bootstrap it. But I know that one for the next one. Let's see. Favorite vacation spot?
Probably like Aspen or Telluride. Just a good mountain town.
Got it. Okay. Trendy or classic?
I don't know. I feel like my like just personal preference is like such a split between those two.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
Okay. Oh man, that was quick. Phone calls or texts?
FaceTime. Sorry.
FaceTime. Whoa.
I keep giving just like not the answer.
I'm okay with it. It's all right. You're a founder. You get to do what you want, and everybody just has to deal with it. Disney World or Disneyland?
Disney World.
Oh yeah, definitely. Do people prefer Disneyland, like that have done both? Yeah? Yeah. Do you prefer Disney World? Yes. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let me open up the floor. We're just about done. Do one question. What's that? Yeah. I think the weather's a little bit better in California in terms of heat. So do we have time for one question? Does anybody have any questions? Yay, nay? No? Well, Ariana, thank you so much for making the trek out here and being a part of this. Really appreciate the partnership with CART and Half Days, and thanks for taking the time to talk with everybody today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you both